Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to Invisible Walls, episode 223, here on GameTrailers.com, fresh off of our PAX panel. Definitely want to thank everyone who came to our panel at PAX to meet us in person. Pretty good turnout. I didn't think it was great until the next day I went to a panel for God of War Ascension, and there were essentially about the same amount of people in that panel as there was at the Invisible Walls panel, and at 15 minutes left, everybody just left when I started doing Q&A, so I felt a little fortunate.
Well, I spoke to a couple of other people who sort of like, media outlets who've been doing panels there for a while, and they said, look, I mean, the first time you do a panel, it's going to be, a tidy crowd, but not a huge crowd, and I got to say, everybody who came contributed. They were so hyper and, fantastic, but I think that, this is something that hopefully we can do for PAX East and PAX Prime next year, and obviously
PAX Australia.
PAX Australia. Yeah, I'd love to go down.
If I can get a free trip to Australia out of it, I'm down.
And of course, the Film Fest panel was actually very well attended, I thought. I mean, I turned up and, a lot of people had come to see Brandon and Daniel make asses of themselves.
Yeah. But overall, I had a blast at PAX. It was my first PAX. We will get to that a little later in the show. But a big thanks to all of you who came out to the panel. You guys were great, asked a lot of great questions, which I thought was awesome.
And they all got the breeding ground.
Yeah.
Except one guy.
Well,
breeding
pool.
Breeding ground.
I think that guy was just throwing us a bone. It's like Barbie Horse Adventure.
Yeah.
Sure. Dude.
They also all got Invisible Walls t-shirts, first ones we've ever made. So next year, I'm sure we'll have some cool giveaways at the panel. We will be doing it again, so mark your calendars now, but we'll get to PAX a little later. A couple housekeeping things. We have launched the Game Trailers app on the iTunes Store today. Go and get it now. In fact, Invisible Walls is in the app, so a lot of you guys who've been having problems viewing the show on your whatever, that problem is solved. The new app is up and live and free, so make sure you go and download that. And then another note, I know we've been getting a lot of comments about not being able to watch the show on iTunes or get the show on iTunes. It's not completely fixed, but I do have a quick workaround for you guys if you want to subscribe to the feed. It's there. It's just a little janky right now. So what you need to do is you need to go to iTunes, obviously, click on Advanced, click on Open Stream, and then type this URL in there. And it's obviously www.gametrailers.com GTIW_podcast.xml. And then you'll be subscribed to the feed. Obviously, it's not going to stay that way. It will be fixed, so you can actually just subscribe to it, but I'm trying to help you guys out, those of you who want to get in there a little early before the tech is completely sorted out. So with that, let's move on with the show.
You think you know the Borderlands? You've seen nothing yet.
All right, so next up we have a very special guest here on Invisible Walls. You probably know him from Hey Ash, What You Playin', one of the shows here on Game Trailers, but what you probably didn't know is that he's also the lead writer on Borderlands 2. Anthony Birch, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's a shame. This is the first time you've been in our offices.
Yeah.
And you've been creating content for us forever.
4 years, yeah. It's my first time actually seeing where the sausage is made, so to speak.
Now, you guys are probably wrapping up development. Now, from your perspective as the lead writer, are you still reworking the script? And
Oh, no.
you're doing nothing at this point?
My full-time job now is trying not to get fired. Look busy, oh God, Randy's coming. My actual job was done a few months ago once we finished all the writing and stuff, or all the recording, and then it was just fixing text bugs and working with marketing and having fun stuff like that.
What do you do with marketing? Come to things like this?
Come to things like this, we did
We're
that.
so sorry.
Yeah. There's that.
That's when your job is a job.
Yeah, exactly. That was actually fun. We did a video a long time ago with like Claptrap where he helped this guy propose to his girlfriend, and that's not technically marketing, but like, hey, it would be funny if Claptrap made fun of the way his wife looks, and so I wrote that. And for some reason, they really enjoyed it.
"Take my wife, please" jokes for a video.
Slightly higher or lower class than that, but yeah, basically the idea there.
Hey, comedy is timeless, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, do you have any kind of input on the media that you're putting out for the game? Because I have to say, a lot of the videos we've been getting for Borderlands 2 have been really funny, really creative. Have you worked on a lot of that stuff?
Some of them, yeah, like the big handsome Jack trailer where he's mocking you and saying how at the very end he says "Come at me, bro." Essentially,
Yeah.
I wrote the copy for that and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of it just comes down to our marketing department being super awesome, except for Adam Fletcher.
Yeah, because actually, that's what
He's
happened.
standing right here.
Your PR guy was saying that all the ad stuff and all the videos were written by him personally, and that you're just a stunt double for the president of Iran.
Yeah, I'm basically just here to like deflect all horrible things. I'm like, oh, that guy looks like President of Iran. He's an easy target. So.
Can I ask about nepotism at
Oh yeah.
over there?
Yeah, you're talking
'Cause
about
you got
Tiny
your
Tina.
sis,
Yeah.
your sis in there.
Yeah, I got my sister in the game. Kind of wrote a character. Didn't really actually realize I was writing the character of Tiny Tina for Ash until I was about halfway in there, and I was like, oh, my sister should play this character. And I'm like, oh, okay, Anthony, that's cute. But then we actually had her audition, and she blew it out of the park. She did not need my help, although it probably didn't hurt.
Did your wife get a mystery texture in there?
My wife's name is mentioned by a couple of random NPCs that just walk around Sanctuary. I think I hit her in there pretty well.
Cool. Disparaging comments or?
No, I like my wife.
Okay.
My wife's awesome. She win the shirt.
Now, how involved are you with any other parts of the development of the game? Is it kind of all hands on deck at this point, or are you really just sitting there trying to look busy?
Right now, I'm just trying to look busy. Before, during the main sort of thrust of production, there was actually a lot of running around dealing with different departments. That was what was sort of fun about it. It was, you hear a lot of stories about like, oh, we hired this writer and he worked for like 2 weeks and he was off-site, nobody ever saw him, and once he was done, he was done. Like I was constantly going between art and design and level design and like, ooh, they have this cool idea for a quest. How can I sort of make it work in the main story? Or I have a really dumb idea for a quest. How can you make it better and actually have good gameplay and all that kind of stuff?
So there is the give and take.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like you will fill in the color for a quest, but then sometimes you will come up with a quest and they'll try to incorporate the gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, it went both ways.
Has when you were actually coming up with the mechanical creative sides, where the story was going to have specific gameplay, did you ever come up against a big no, we can't do that, or anything like that?
Yeah, there were a few where I was like, oh, what if this branch, and then it branched again, and then it branched 5 more times. Like we can only do one branch, and that's a really stupid idea. And I was like, okay, good point, and then just ran into my next thing on my list.
And I seem to remember, like, you sit next to the creative director
Yeah,
or
Paul
something,
Hellquist.
like you made sure you guys were in the same room, right? Like, so speaking about, you were just talking about the writer in the other room. Is that, I'm assuming the answer is going to be yes, but I mean, that seems like a really good idea. Considering most people, Shane included, think video game stories are complete and utter crap.
Generally, I think they're crap. Yeah. I'm not saying yours sucks.
Bizarrely enough, he thinks
Well, you got
Borderlands
videos,
2.
I'm not gonna snap
Exactly.
Yeah, he thinks the story in Borderlands 2 is fantastic.
Yeah. The 30 to 45 seconds you've heard of it, I imagine.
How do you feel about that, though? Do you believe that the stories in games could be improved a lot?
I think there's always room for improvement. I think a lot of it comes down to, like what you were saying, it's really like what sort of, if Borderlands 2's story does indeed work, it's because I was working with the creative director from day one, and he was the one overseeing a lot of the gameplay stuff. We made sure those were in tandem rather than this completely divorced experience. And I think, it's really hard for a lot of writers who are well versed in other mediums to understand what works best in video games. Like you start a game and it's like, okay, this game is about like saving your daughter, and the game starts with you having a daughter, and you automatically care about it because she's your daughter. It's like, well, actually, that works better in like non-interactive media where we can empathize with a character who he cares about his daughter. Like we know Jack Bauer really cares about Kim, but if we were playing the 24 game and we started off and Kim was doing all the stupid stuff she does in the beginning of 24 season 1, then we'd be like, I really want Kim to just die. Like I don't want to beat this
Branching
game.
path, right?
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, another question. I'm assuming you're writing a lot of dialogue. And that's kind of goes onto the side of, people are always saying the best stories are the ones that, show, don't tell, but dialogue by its nature is kind of exposition, is kind of showy. I'm curious, did you have to do a lot of behind-the-scenes writing that's not dialogue? Did you have to like descriptive writing or something that's maybe not so obviously in the game, but also kind of makes the story go in one direction or another? Or is it mainly dialogue?
It was mainly dialogue in terms of just what was on the page, but there was a lot of like talking with the level designers where they would sort of be building out a space and they would say, I don't really know what happens in this space or what the history of it is supposed to be, and be like, okay, well, what if this bandit clan did this and this was representative of them? And a lot of that came from art as well. They came up with like cool graffiti that tells stories about who the Bloodshot Bandit clan is and all that kind of stuff. That was what was really nice about being able to go from sort of team to team within the whole, or group to group and within the design team and sort of play around with it.
So let's go. I want to go back to Shane's question and take your Borderlands 2 hat off for a sec.
Yeah.
Put your Hey Ash hat on.
Yeah.
Ash hat. That sounds really kind of rude.
Especially when it's my sister.
Yeah. Sorry.
I got weird.
So, I mean, you guys have gone through a lot of games over the years. What is the worst game story you have ever experienced? There's got to be one or two that are like, right up the top there that have just been, I mean, because of what you said about the 24 game. I mean, I actually thought you were talking about Splinter Cell with the whole my daughter's been kidnapped and everything. I mean, I thought that was the Sam Fisher story.
I actually can't think of too many games that I really actually stand out. I think when a game has a really bad story, it doesn't come out as like, oh, that's awful. You just kind of forget it. Like, the thing about when you see a movie with a really bad story, like, oh my God, that will stick out in your mind.
Because that's all
forever.
you got.
Because that's all you got. Yeah, I'm sure I've played dozens of games that have awful stories, but if the gameplay is good enough, that's enough for me. Like, I think that's sort of the philosophy we have with Borderlands 2 story is that, okay, let's make the story good. Let's make it something that makes you feel like you're immersed in this world and blah, 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 and give you nice context and everything. But at the end of the day, it's a game first, and we always wanted to make sure the gameplay was more important to the story. We tried not to have really long 100-minute cutscenes. We tried not to, force the player to do anything they didn't want to do just because story demanded it and that kind of stuff. It's a game first, and I'm very happy to be a game writer who thinks that gameplay is way more important than what I do.
And
Do you see what he did there?
He brought it full circle.
He actually
You trained him well.
He circumvented the question because I wanted the headline for the next episode to be Borderlands 2 lead writer calls out shit game.
Yeah.
You're not helping us, Dave.
But
Nailed it.
He does have the really big challenge. Did you make the ending worse than the first game?
No.
Oh, so you didn't live up to the challenge, huh?
Was that the challenge?
Yeah,
I wasn't aware.
could you actually make a worse ending to Borderlands?
No, we actually did a lot of work to make sure the ending is considerably better in every conceivable way.
Is there only one ending?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's only one ending, and then you're going to patch it 6 months later?
No. I honestly.
Oh, you say that now.
Yeah.
It's better hope everybody likes it.
I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure of anything, but maybe.
Now, when you set off to write the story for a game like Borderlands, it's kind of lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Is there like a line where you have to walk where you're like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, we're getting way too serious here and it doesn't kind of match with the rest of the story? Is there like a Bible you guys use while you're writing a game to make sure you don't kind of step over that line?
The Bible is just arguments, really. Like
Yeah.
that was actually that line is actually something that was all throughout the script writing, was finding out what that line is. And more often we didn't veer into seriousness too much as we veered into silly, because my background as a really bad comedy writer is like, I'll just make things goofier and it'll all be great. And a lot of it is realizing that, okay, Borderlands is a funny universe, but it's a funny universe that's couched in really violent, horrible things happening to a lot of people, and making sure that you have that. Anytime you're going to have something really goofy like Tiny Tina, making sure that there's something that's a little bit darker, something that's a little bit more down to earth that sort of grounds it, that is the sort of straight man to the funny guy kind of thing.
Right.
So like Tiny Tina has a really dark backstory, but she can talk in crazy, funny, hey Ash kind of dialogue, and it's okay.
And you wrote this game with Mikey Newman, right?
Yeah, I did. He basically came on pretty late and did like some of Scooter and Tanis's lines because he had written the first game.
Do you feel like there's a distinctive, people are going to be able to tell what's you and what's him?
I really don't know. Maybe. But like 99% of it is me, so it's like when Scooter says something, you're like, oh, that's not like the other Scooter line that was horrible. That's going to be Mikey.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm not.
So the good stuff.
Yeah. With Scooter and Tanis, anything that you're like, oh, that's good. That's not me.
Okay.
So what are your inspirations when you're sitting down to write Borderlands 2? I mean, do you go back and revisit the first story in its entirety? Do you pull some inspiration from movies, comic books? I mean, it's got this obviously Mad Max, Judge Dredd, kind of feel. I mean, so where do your inspirations come from, especially as somebody who's trying to balance this violent, gritty world with this comic edge?
My two biggest influences probably are Portal and Firefly. It's what's really great to me about Portal is that it's very villain-centric, and we wanted our story to be very, very villain-centric. What's great to me about Firefly is that you think of that as like the action sci-fi show, but when you actually sit down and watch it, about 99% of that show is just dudes being funny with one another and joking, and like that really endears you to the characters, so that when things get really bad in Serenity, you feel it that much more. It becomes that much more emotionally sort of taxing on you when you've like, oh my god, I was laughing with all these characters, and the one just freaking died. Like that kind of suspense is great.
All right, Anthony, thank you so much for coming in. Borderlands 2 comes out when?
September 18th in North America and 21st internationally.
And any hints on any future Hey Ash episodes you may be working? You going to do a Hey Ash episode for Borderlands 2?
Yeah, I think we'd be silly not to, but one day.
All right, well, thank you for coming. Good luck finishing the game, and we can't wait to play it.
Oh yeah, I hope you like it.
Ah, here you are. You must be the new novice I was sent to retrieve. I'm a Magister of the Order, but we don't need to use titles. Just call me Siren.
All right, so first of all, we want to apologize in advance. The show is kicking down to one camera for the rest of the episode. We're having some technical difficulties, so no more close-ups, unfortunately, which maybe
Thank
that's
God.
for the
Yeah.
better.
Can we go back to audio only?
Yeah. We should introduce the panel today. Brandon Jones, the voice of GameTrailers. reviews every single game on GameTrailers. As
Little known fact.
Many people seem
He casts
to
mirror image
believe.
and displays everything.
Exactly.
We have Ryan Stevens, who you guys all
Howdy.
know and love, and of course Marcus Beer, Annoyed Gamer. All right, so we're going to talk about Guild Wars 2. I have to admit, I have not played an MMO since Lord of the Rings Online.
And you've played this of your own free will. Nobody held a gun to your head.
Nope,
You
I did
weren't
not have
writing
to
the
review it. I didn't have to cover it. I literally just actually it was all the evangelists here at work. They were saying this is the one you should try. This is the one that's different. I had heard that about Lord of the Rings Online. I was burned so bad by that it took me this long to give MMOs
Yeah.
another chance.
Excuse me a second. I'm going to the window to see if there's flying pigs
Right.
over Santa Monica.
But I am playing it. I've only played it, I don't know, probably
Flying
about
bacon.
12 to 15 hours. So I'm going to just kind of jump into this conversation periodically. But Ryan, you've been playing a lot
I
of it.
played a bunch.
Marcus has been playing a lot of it. Have you been playing it, Jones?
I touched it a little bit, but I haven't really jumped in. I'm kind of
You
scared.
touched
too.
it a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But
And
you haven't
you're a
jumped
big.
in.
You used to be a big WoW player, correct?
That's kind of the thing, is that I'm kind of scared to, jump into the deep end of the pool and get lost. But it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm super impressed. It's still not the I'm sure this tagline is being used everywhere. It's not the revolution, but it is a huge evolution. Like I dabble in MMOs all the time. I did play a bunch of WoW. I played a little bit of Tor. Did the Secret World, and everything always seems kind of I played Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons Online. They're always kind of WoW-esque, and then they have their own little features. This still has you're still going to be hitting 1 through 5 on your keypad a lot. But they really changed the formula a lot. There's not traditional quests. It may not be quite as arcadey as Terra, but it is a lot more thinking on your feet. Dodging for your classes really matters. They did really eschew the whole holy trinity of tank, DPS, and healer. Like everyone has their own healing. But I really think it's the world, how the world came alive, and it's doing a lot of things that I always thought I was the only one in the room cared about. Like I like that exploring is actually rewarding. Like if you actually complete a map, you're actually well rewarded. And actually jumping around, I don't know if you guys have found any of the jumping puzzles, feels like a little Mario 64 game at times.
I haven't got that far yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet either.
They're kind of hidden, and those are optional, but they're there. And I kind of just like how it is exploring the world instead of it just being like a combat grind. And I mean, it's
That's
kind
the
of
big deal to me. I mean, to me, it plays pretty much the same as all the other MMOs I've played. I feel like the combat's still a little wonky compared to like
What
a
class are you
typical.
playing?
What class am I playing as? Oh, I'm playing as the warrior.
Warrior. Okay.
Yeah, which is great. As you mentioned, you have the ability to heal yourself, which is awesome.
And
Usually,
you can revive almost anybody.
right.
I mean, that's the thing. You can revive everybody else.
But I feel like the combat still is kind of like that MMO, little janky. Don't feel like I have complete control all the time. What I like though is the quest structure, and the fact that
lack
the world,
thereof.
right, and that the world feels like it's alive and there are just things happening. It's like I didn't start the game and have to go kill like 20 prairie wolves. Like I immediately was able to get into a quest. I mean, it's there if you want to go slaughter rabbits, you can. But I start with the quest, and then out of nowhere, like this thing just starts happening around me. And it's like, hey, there's this shit going down over here. You may want to go over there and get in on it. And I was like, I do want to get in on it. And it kept happening over and over again. It's like, it totally keeps you on your toes, and it never feels like a grind.
And it filters back into the exploration, because
Right.
there's the closest thing to the quest are the little hearts on the map, and you fill those up, and it's like, explore this area. While you're in this area, there's going to be little things to do, but there's a wide variety of them. You never just have to like kill boars. It's like kill boars, collect things. It's the kind of the fictive gloss that tries to bring it out a little. It's never the most advanced stuff. I think the weirdest thing I saw was a place that had me solve math problems.
Yeah.
There was like a broken factory, and it's like, let's solve the logic problems with the crystals. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll do that for a minute. But then you're well rewarded. Like literally just fighting creatures, you're not going to level off of that. You get almost no experience. So that goes back to the whole idea of that you're supposed to actually become like intimate with the land and like go places, explore them while you're exploring the spots, try to figure stuff out. And I think that's a good way to go about things. And it does care about story. I mean, there's people that love like World of Warcraft lore, and Secret World and Tor definitely had really big narrative pushes. But here, I was really surprised when I created my character. It was like, what was your college project? And I was like, okay. I made the Infinity Ball. And then I was doing my story missions, and then halfway through, it's like, we've got the Infinity Ball out of storage. Something's happening. I'm like, oh, wow, my multiple choice question is actually factoring into the story. And it's cool that they're making an effort. I mean, I still don't think I care all that much about the Elder Dragon things, but I like that the world has this kind of consistency with me, myself, the character that I am playing as. Also, the world PvP is an interesting way to go about things, and there is straight PvP if you just want to gank people. And I also thought the game was actually very pretty.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
I
man.
actually, I made fun of myself because I was playing at home, and the first time I jumped out of the water, and the splash, like, you know, we've seen it in games a lot.
Yeah.
Like Samus's visor and stuff like that. But when I saw the water spots on the screen, I think I actually went, wow.
Yeah.
And I was like, what did I just said that out loud.
Oh, the art is amazing. Technically, it's a beast, and yet I have everything cranked up as high as it'll go, and I'm still getting at least like 40 frames per second. And my PC isn't like some monster machine.
I'm running it on boot camp on a 27-inch iMac, but I'm playing it at max resolution, and I've not gotten a frame rate dip below 30.
Yeah, I mean, I bought my PC about a year and a half ago. I do have a pretty good video card, but that game looks spankingly good.
Spankingly good.
Spankingly. Yeah.
Box quote.
Well, and the thing I like about it is, I mean, grouping's always been the bane of any MMO's existence. And I'm hearing that, once you get to level 30 and you get into some of the dungeons are, it requires a lot of mental retraining if you've played WoW or Lord of the Rings or whatever, because it's more a case of, and this taps into the combat that you were saying about the combat still feels a little janky. It's more, the combat is more intuitive with the dodging and utilizing those, which you don't really do in other MMOs as much. But the fact that you can chip into almost any quest to fill up those little hearts, and it rewards you based on how much or how little you've done. I mean, you get a gold, silver, or a bronze medal, and that to me is great because it means there is no kill stealing. It means there's no waiting for something to respawn. I had one where I was in an underground tunnel and I had to just basically knock over bits of metal that these imp creatures had built, and I would knock it over and somebody else would still see it. They'd knock it over, and it was just. It took away the grind. It doesn't feel like
it doesn't feel grindy at all.
It inspires good, like even if you're not in a team, it inspires good play because I'm a thief and I'll run by and someone's fighting someone and I just throw a dagger. I hit the guy, see a little XP. Like it doesn't matter too much, but it's cool that I am contributing. And it's reflecting back on me. The dungeon partying system does actually need to be reworked a little bit. It doesn't have the kind of auto-fill you into a group. But like, have you guys picked up any of the random items in the game where you get all the different movesets and stuff like that? They're not always the most useful, but it's fun to play around with that stuff as well. And like Patrick did the very first dungeon, and they had people picking up boulders. You have to fight two bosses at once, and they just kind of basically play catch with the boulder and the boss, and keep just stun locking the boss. And that was kind of an interesting technique because you played a ton of instances and raids and WoW, and it becomes like bosses are special. But it usually becomes like how to avoid their AoE damage.
Yeah,
it's not really.
Don't stand in this. Run over here when this happens.
And that's pretty much it. And here it was, instead of being reactive, these were more kind of being proactive with the battles, and I thought that's interesting. It's doing a lot of stuff well. I'm still and I don't
Server overflow. They do a great job dealing with that. Like,
yeah, that's a really smart idea.
Real sick
and you
idea.
never lock yourself out of content because the game auto levels you lower.
Right.
So if you go to, I'm level 36. If I go to like another starter zone that I missed, they'll put me at level 4 or something, and I can still do all that stuff. I don't think the XP rewards are going to be as good, but it's nice that I can still kind of experience that content.
No, it hasn't been the most flawless of launches. I think,
Yeah, there were some server issues the first few days.
Well,
It was pretty good though for an MMO.
There's been some login issues. I mean, I follow the Guild Wars Twitter, and it seems that 4 or 5 times a day there are login issues. And they're still
for the
having
first week, you couldn't confirm your account.
Yeah.
They lacked the ability to send you an email so you could click on it and confirm your account.
Well, I would click on it and I would get the email 3 hours later when the link expires.
Right, yeah. They were having all kinds of problems
That was
with it.
fun. But I mean, those have been I haven't actually
Small
had.
hiccups.
Auction House is down as well. It's still down a lot, but yeah, no, I thought it was
I haven't
pretty
had
good.
any problems
And no
logging in
monthly
at all.
fee.
No
That's the
monthly
nuts
fee.
part.
Yeah.
The no monthly
No
fee.
monthly
Oh, I know.
It was good.
It's free.
Yeah.
You buy it once,
$60.
you're good to go. Yeah.
So-
Free for $60.
One of the things I did say,
We're
I
gushing,
think,
aren't we?
It's a pretty awesome game,
Yeah.
man.
Well, I mean,
I'm playing an MMO. Think about that.
I want to ask
Think
you
about that.
I want to ask you guys about the one thing that has irked me, and I've said this since I played the beta. I hate the voiceovers. I think the voice acting in this game
it's a little
is a
little
little
wooden.
twee. Yeah,
Twee is good.
I mean, especially as the
They're all
voice
listening to
acting
Bell
in
and
the Old
Sebastian.
Republic was really, really good, and I think for this one, the voice acting was probably not needed.
I wonder though if with the Star Wars MMO, if in hindsight they're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have spent all that money on those really expensive voice actors.
Go back to EverQuest 2, man. That was their big standing point.
Right.
And WoW just crushed them.
Yeah. But at least there is a lot of voice acting in this.
There is a lot of voice acting, and I actually feel like the game doesn't necessarily need it. I think it's got so much else going on for it.
Maybe for key set piece moments, it might be good. But
and I think it's probably just my own personal taste in that I do love a good story. I do love good the good voice acting.
It's really the story missions when you get the kind of the two kind of character profiles talking to each other. That's when you get it, and then and those do tend to be a little loquacious. But the little quips when people are.
Nice
Sorry.
one.
Hey, between twee and
but, like,
locations, we've got half the audience going through the bloody
Dictionary.
You're playing
right
Words
now.
with Friends too, huh? But but I like when the little guys just say like random shit, like when you're walking around on the map. But I like that in WoW. Like, I still love time is money, friend. But to this day. But I don't know.
I would say all of us are pretty much unanimous. People should go get it. I mean,
And Brandon's gonna bow to the peer pressure.
It's gonna be over. I don't know how to not play an MMO for hours and hours on end.
I gotta say, I mean,
because you're talking about exploring, it's like that's everything. That's what I want to do.
Well,
That's why
that's what-
when I went from
that's what
Final
you're
Fantasy 11 to World of Warcraft, and I'm like, you can jump like that was. It's over.
Well, let me just say,
a lot of jumping.
I have no. I mean, I had little interest in Kung Fu Panda, but now I have less than no interest in Pandaria. I think the
it's a tough sell now. Isn't World of Warcraft kind of a tough sell?
Yeah, I mean, I let my
Because you're selling it every month.
I mean, I let my WoW account lapse because I didn't want to pay for it every month because I haven't been back. I haven't played in a good few months. But this is going to keep me away, and this is keeps me away from the Old Republic as well. And I can't give it any higher praise than that.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that, I'm not an MMO player, never have been. It's never really resonated with me. I've tried all the games that people are like, you got to try this one, you got to try this one. And they all never resonated with me, and I am really, really enjoying Guild Wars 2. So I don't know if I can give it a higher recommendation than that. All right, so now we're going to talk about PAX Prime 12. Like I said, the first time I have gone had heard such amazing things from everybody about it. In hindsight, I believe they were all absolutely correct. I loved PAX. I will say that next year, Ryan, I think I'm just going to go and not work.
No, that's what I'm gonna do.
Because, I mean, I went there and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm scheduled for, and obviously we have to work and get stuff done. But I was scheduled from like 9 till 7. I didn't really get to get into the culture of PAX.
just
Like
need to-
Marcus did, for instance.
We just need to
2
bring
years running.
everyone next time.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then we can just divvy up the work.
Then we can all do like one appointment a day or something
And
like that.
we'll do, like Damiani can sleep in my bathtub.
Yeah.
And the mattress, it has two sides, so like I'll sleep on the top, Justin
sleep
can sleep
on
on
the
the
bottom.
bottom. I mean, we'll make it work.
But if any of you guys have never gone to PAX, it is really, really awesome. I would just say overall what I really loved about it was just the vibe and the people. Everybody is in a good mood. Everybody's happy, having a great time. Like, it's just awesome. Like, in a nutshell, I just really, really enjoyed it. And I didn't even get a lot of time to do anything that was really fun necessarily.
I mean, even the lines, and we saw the Borderlands lines, we saw the lines for Aliens, and
We
a
saw
couple
no
other
lines
games,
for the Wii U, by the way.
which I didn't even know was there until you
The
told me
first
Nintendo had
time
moved.
the general public has been able to play the Wii U.
That's right.
And crickets. I mean, there were people in Nintendo's booth, but there weren't like huge lines sprawling out of it like there were for like Borderlands 2 or even like Aliens Colonial Marines had a huge line.
Well, the point
Halo
of
4 had a huge
The
line.
point I'm making for the lines is that everybody was just chill and chatting to each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
There was none of this.
A lot of
it's
street
like,
passing going on at PAX.
Yeah.
Brandon, by the way, has like an OCD with street pass.
I loved it. That was great.
Well, you brought your DS. You both brought your DSs to the panel. It was like, street pass.
Well, it was full in like 2 seconds. Like, that was the thing. It's like after the first day, I just gave up. Because it's like literally you'd clear out the 10 people, and before you could even clear the last one, your gate was already like full with another 10. You loved it.
Oh yeah,
Did you complete every puzzle?
Well, I didn't know I didn't know they added more puzzles since the first batch.
which
So I
one?
actually found that at the beginning of the weekend. So
Which has
I
more
was
pieces?
obsessed
Your
with that.
firmware? Did you have
No,
Find Me
well,
Too?
actually, they do a little red exclamation point to say like, oh, you have a new Find Me Too or whatever thing, and they didn't do that initially with the puzzle swap. You had to like boot it up again, and then it would have a little intro video that's like, oh, we have more puzzles now. And Meg brought that to my attention. So yeah, all weekend I was just like rabid puzzle solver. But I loved it. I love the connectivity of the 3DS. So that's my
Yeah, it's
favorite
really
thing about
cool.
it. So
Can
it was
become
fun.
addictive. So let's talk about, we already talked about how awesome PAX is. Let's talk about the actual games that were there. Brandon, what is the one game that really stood out to you at PAX?
I definitely wanted to play Dishonored because I was really excited about that. I played that a little bit at when we went to the party, and I played a little bit there. I think Far Cry 3 probably surprised me the most.
Really?
Just because
good.
not a game I was really expecting to make a lot of time for, but something I knew was going to be good. And that game is beautiful. Played it on
gorgeous,
360,
yeah.
and definitely one of the prettiest natural environments I've seen on the 360.
The animals look so great.
Just the AI of how everything moved. Like I didn't even play it with the headset on because I wanted to talk to the person doing the demo, and just the way they animated, really aggressive. Like the way they'd go for vehicles, the way they go for cover, the way that. And I talked to Jamie, a guy that we work with this morning, and he talked about Far Cry 2, how there was a little bit of unfair spawning going on in Far Cry 2. The guys you'd like leave a checkpoint and then they would like respawn that location. So I'm not sure how that works outside of the demo, but yeah, really fun. Really liked Far Cry 3.
What about you, Stevens?
I didn't get a lot of free time either, but I played my first MOBA ever, because I've seen tons of Smite, Dota 2, League of Legends, Heroes of Newerth, Monday Night Combat, Super Monday Night Combat. Awesome
Mediocre
knots.
Monday Night Combat.
But that's good. But I got to check out Guardians of Middle-earth, which is the Lord of the Rings licensed one for consoles.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. Watching Patrick and co play that stuff, I had an idea of it, but it is different to actually sit in there. It was funny because they did admit at E3 they thought it was going to be like a rush to the gate to see who could make the first more traditional console-based one, and they were the only ones really. It was interesting. I'm curious to see if it's gonna get the kind of the fervor. I mean, the Dota and League of Legends stuff at PAX was insane. Like the League of Legends room.
Yeah.
I don't know if the cheering made it through.
Oh no, you can hear it
On
everywhere.
the Invisible Walls panel.
Everywhere.
But that was the Dota people.
Don't give that away. We're trying to.
Oh, that was us.
Yes, that was people cheering for us.
Yes, it was every time I uncross my legs. But Valve rented out an entire concert hall for the International. That was nuts.
Yeah.
But with my fleeting 30 minutes, I went over to the Indie Pavilion, the new game from Capybara, the guys who did Swords and Sworcery and Clash of Heroes of Might and Magic. It's called like Super Neo Time Force something. That looks way cooler than I expected from the trailers, and way cooler in motion. Their trailers are funny though, but what I was really happy about is, remember Brendan Chung, he was on the show, years ago. This was when you had taken your hiatus. He had done Flotilla, and he's just done 30 Flights of Loving, but his new game is called Quadrilateral Cowboy, and I'm trying to he's local, so I'm trying to get him in. And it's basically it's using the Doom 3 engine, and it's a hacker game, but influenced by 80s hackers. So it's got like controls. I heard it's like if you took hacking and combined it with Guitar Hero, but it's also like pulling off heists and stuff. It looked really, really cool.
Sounds crazy.
Completely my
That was
wheelhouse.
the one you were tweeting
He also does great box art too.
Yeah,
for his
the
stuff.
box art he was tweeting during the show. I was like, where the hell is this game? And I never got to see it, but
It was
get that guy in.
definitely something that it floated my boat.
Marcus, what really struck your fancy at PAX Prime?
Well, I got to play Dishonored, which I didn't get to do at E3, and I got to say, yes, major boner for that game. Obviously, there
Coming out very soon, by the way.
Yeah, there were some favorites as well. Recoil and Hawken, obviously, they both had long lines, and they were a bunch of fun. I will say two games that did catch my eye. First of all was Rise of the Triad.
Wow.
It's back. Obviously the game that from like 2 billion years ago has been totally redone, single player and multiplayer. I got to play some old school multiplayer one-on-one deathmatch. Felt like Quake. Felt like good Quake.
Oh, one-on-one deathmatch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was all,
Okay.
the insane
Did not
weapons
realize.
are back
Rocket
there, the
jumping.
traps. Yeah, the bouncing off the walls.
Is there still only right angles?
No, they have more than right angles now. They have left angles as well. But no, that was just a bunch of fun. And then I had my first experience, and I am not a card playing, Dungeons and Dragons type player. Never really understood it or had the attraction for it. I got to play Card Hunter at the show, and this is a web-based game. It's by some of the guys who've done D&D games in the past. And it's such a beautiful, simple, turn-based card game. I think Justin is going to spooge over it when he sees it. It's just really nice, delightful, really intuitive as well for somebody who, like myself, is not really very au fait with the whole card playing genre. But I really loved that one as well. I mean, the indie section I thought was fantastic. Just wandering around seeing what these guys are doing is brilliant. And then what else did I see that kind of got me going? I mean, I didn't get to see Borderlands 2. Didn't get in to see XCOM because they were just too
The lines are too long.
too long. But again, you know, all the lines people were just chatting and having fun. And Dead Island Riptide. I don't know if anybody else caught the demo, but it's the sequel to Dead Island, and they're adding tower defense.
Oh God!
And it actually looks really fun. I mean, the segment they showed, there's a bunch of survivors, and you're in this fortified area. And before the zombies, come, you got to put electrified fences up, see mines around, pick guns up and move them as you go. And
it's not a good idea.
No, honestly,
it's really not.
You may say it's not a good idea, but having sat and watched it, it looks really fun. It adds that level of frantic, stress to the game. I dug Dead Island the first time around. I mean, I didn't have any problems with bugs or glitches, so I really like that one.
Yeah, but this is going away from that game. I mean, it's
no, this is not. I mean, that's not the be all and end all. It's just this is just a section.
Like Assassin's Creed
this is just a section they showed off. So it's definitely there's definitely more to it. Also, like The Walking Dead, where they give away the chicken wings inside that were like stuffed into bloody hands, severed hands. So you'd hold the hand and your chicken bone would come out and you'd have like a chicken or a turkey wing. That was fun. I didn't want to try the turkey though because it just looked evil.
Can we talk about the other tower defense game?
Can I talk about the games that I liked first?
Okay.
Do we let him have an opinion?
I'll keep it brief. The game that probably made the biggest impression on me was Company of Heroes 2. Obviously, the first one, I think, is, as they tell you every time you talk to them about it, is the highest rated strategy game of all time. I think it's been 6 years since it came out. Is that right?
Yeah, it was 06, so.
Yeah, around there. And they've shown this game to us very briefly in the past and talked about it. This was the first chance we had to actually play a big chunk of the game. They had 2 levels set up that we could play, and we basically had an hour to play it if we wanted to. So I really got to dive deep, and I've got to say, it is completely different from any strategy game I've ever played. First of all, the weather plays a huge role in this game. Seriously, blizzards just kick up out of nowhere, and if your guys are stranded between heat spots, they will die. Literally, your troops will die. So part of the engineer's job is to build fires. So, and then if you say you start here, and you need to end up over here at the final objective, you need to build these fires in spots so that if you send your guys from one spot to the next, they will not freeze to death on the way to the next spot. So you're constantly managing the cold. And while your guys are running, they have little temperature gauges above them that'll say, like this guy's about to die or whatever. So you have to manage that. The other thing that was really cool about it is ice and snow. Like I know it's been in their bullet points for their press releases or whatever, but it is a huge frickin' deal. Ice can break. So if there's a tank, like on a frozen lake or whatever, you can throw an explosive, blow up the ice near them, and the tank will actually sink into the water. And as time goes on, the ice will refreeze again. So there's all this strategy based around weather. The other thing to keep in mind, too, is if you're trying to send your guys from one hot spot to the next, you have to look at how much snow there is between those spots. Because if there's really deep snow, they get bogged down and can't move very quickly, and they'll die. So there's all these dynamics to this game that I've never seen in a strategy game before. Not to mention, the game just looks flipping gorgeous. I mean, it is literally the best-looking strategy game I've ever seen.
When you were saying about the ice, so I'm guessing it's a two-way street. Then, if you put your own guys onto the ice, and the ice is only just reformed, it's thin. They
can break and fall through. Yep.
That's cool.
The whole game is built around like the weather and the snow and the ice. I can't believe that people fought a war in 40-degree below temperatures. Think about that. So anyway.
Yeah, and we complain here in Santa Monica where it gets.
I can't believe it's 82 today. Yeah, I was really, really impressed with the game. They have not put out a lot of footage of it yet. They said because they still don't have it optimized for DirectX 11, and they don't want to show it in its DX9 state. They want people to see what it really looks like. So that's why they've been kind of reticent to put out a lot of footage. But I got to say, if you like strategy games, that is definitely the game to keep your eye on. I think it comes out in early next year. Quickly, another game that I saw that I really liked, a Double Fine downloadable game called The Cave. A lot like Maniac Mansion. Really funny, cleverly written, great animation. Basically just a puzzle game where you use 3 characters at the same time to solve puzzles. I really like that. And obviously all the blockbusters, you guys already talked about those. I was equally impressed with those. But those are just 2 games that I saw that I was like, wow, those are both really good games. So.
Now there's a big reveal at E3. at E3 at PAX rather. Kojima was in town.
Yep.
And ironically, actually, the night before the Konami conference, whatever you want to call it, I was actually sitting in the bar at the W, and I was sitting. Actually, I think was that Rich was with me that night when we were talking to Konami. Yeah, so we were actually talking to Konami, and Kojima was actually upstairs, and his producer was downstairs, and he was sitting next to me in the bar, and he asked me what I thought of Metal Gear. I'm like, oh God. And I was I was honest with him that I hadn't really liked it since the Metal Gear the early PlayStation days, and that I felt it had crawled a little bit up its own ass. And to be fair, he agreed.
Wow.
I mean, he said that this was one of the things that they felt it had gone a little stale, and they had actually spent some time going to Infinity Ward and Treyarch and seeing how the Western developers are, scripting stories now.
Right now, everybody watching this is starting to cry.
Well, I know. Well, there are going to be several fans who are, who are going to be upset.
We'll be happy about that.
I mean, I think they went to Bungie as well. I mean, they went to a bunch of different Western developers to see how they craft a story and how it's different to the Japanese studios, which I thought was a good thing.
Yeah.
And then obviously the next day, the trailer is unveiled, and I can say the engine looks nice.
The engine is amazing. Definitely the best engine that's been released for this generation of consoles, hands down.
I don't think they put enough,
rain and water and.
Well, I was actually going to say patches, patches that
Fox
say Fox
patches.
The Fox patches, yeah, because it's called the Fox engine apparently.
Yeah.
But gorgeous engine, absolutely. I mean, the rain, everything. All the cinematic section, and then the gameplay and the extended gameplay video, which made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks gorgeous, but other than the technical aspect, I felt totally underwhelmed with it.
Well, I'll tell you this. I tweeted the other day, I'm like, am I the only one that was bored to tears by the Ground Zeroes demo and trailer? And I figured it was going to be like 8,000 people being like, you're crazy. It wasn't. It was actually probably 70-30, 70% saying they were bored by it as well, loved the engine. And then, of course, there were the other 30% that were like, you're an idiot, you don't blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the engine's fantastic, but it was
just boring. So boring. And I get it. It's like if you played Peace Walker.
Yeah, it's so tied to Peace Walker.
Blah.
That's what's nuts.
How many people played Peace Walker?
A lot of people played it in Japan, though. That's why you have to
I think
remember.
that's a huge mistake, man. Like trying to create a sequel to a game that most people did not play.
The elephant in the room for me, though, is so I was at the panel or the presentation. Is they kept saying open world. I'm curious, and we've had this argument in the office a lot about how open world Metal Gear 3 was or whatever. But
Right.
but when you see vehicles and driving around in vehicles, I am very, very curious how they are going to structure this, because those games, their plots go in a straight line.
Yeah.
You know? And like I actually made the argument that Metal Gear Solid 1 is an open world ladder that you climb up and down. Those 3 warehouses. But except for when they kind of tell you to go back, there's really very little reason to.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, when you see someone driving a vehicle, you have to realize there's got to be a road, there's got to be a track, so to speak. So I am curious how they are going to handle that, because I mean, there's like been the Yakuza games, but I'm curious Japanese developers take on a more open world sandbox. I mean, Kojima's messed around with sandbox techniques a lot, with gameplay kind of doing whatever you want. But combining that with open world, I'm curious where that could go.
I also wonder too if like they're saying open world, and by that they mean there's a couple shots where he comes up on like camps or whatever, and he's kind of up on a vista overseeing like the whole camp.
Like, is it a Mario 64
and I wonder if they're saying
world?
open world is you can go anywhere in this area, and there's no defined like sort of linear way to get through that area.
All right, so this is the major problem I have with the demo. All right, we have the cinematic. We have a guy walking in, blah, 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 tossing the tape deck to the kid, walking to a car, jumping into a car going to helicopter taking off, flying. He pulls patches off, throws them into water. Patch goes down, hits Snake, who's climbing the rock, to go back into the camp. And then once he's standing over the camp, we switch to gameplay mode. And he's standing there, and then he walks back and forth, and he crouches, and he shows off the wonderful lighting and the wind effects, and then he pulls out the goggles, and he sees a guy in a turret. He shoots him.
Now, do you guys think that those goggles were kind of like a gag? Because they had to be, right? Because there's always been this like Sam Fisher versus Snake thing. and like now all of a sudden he's wearing goggles that look just like Sam Fisher's. I mean,
Well, let me finish. 'Cause, I mean, if you haven't seen the demo, this is essentially it. He sees the guy. He goes down a little, pulls out his gun, shoots the guy in the turret, stands around, looks around, jumps into a car, backs up because there's a tank coming, gets out of the car, pulls out a smoke grenade, throws it. A helicopter flies in, and again the smoke effect, the dispersal, fantastic. The helicopter drops. He gets up into the helicopter. Helicopter takes off. So he basically scaled a 150-foot cliff to get into this camp to shoot one poor bastard in the head, drop a smoke grenade, and then hitch a ride home.
right?
Not only that, but they said after they were done, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we have to end it here because we're running out of time." And yet, like in the video, like all the soldiers get out of the helicopter and they're all kind of standing there and looking around. And then he like scans the thing and then just kind of stands and it's like, okay, everybody on the helicopter now. And everybody gets in and then just kind of looks around and you're like, come on. I mean, you didn't run out of time. You just chose to
Well, I think at the Metal
have
Gear
2 minutes of
25th
gameplay and 8 minutes of cinema.
Yeah, I think in the Metal Gear 25th anniversary thing that they just had in Japan, he explained that you can get extracted. So if you get into deep shit and you have no way out, you can. I guess that grenade is a way
But
to. Have
it's
them
like you
come in
said,
and
that
pull
was
you
more of a tech demo. Even though it was gameplay, it was still
Yeah.
more of a tech demo than
Yeah.
like really trying
I
to
mean,
show you off
I
anything.
wouldn't have put any of the
But the way you
voiceover
describe
in.
that, like if you did that for Lord of the Rings, and then Frodo throws the ring into Mount Doom, you could
But,
you could make anything
honestly,
sound.
that would be the other problem I have for somebody who is such a creative director. I felt the creative director and the camera positioning, it felt just really
long.
sloppy. And I got, like I said,
Tighten it up.
nothing but love for the engine. I think the engine looks fantastic. I am hoping to God this is the Metal Gear that brings me back into the franchise.
Yeah.
And because if it is this open world environment, if this is you can sneak around and play it 55 different ways as opposed to boom, cardboard box, little sound, hide in a locker. That, and I'm obviously generalizing with the franchise before anybody's heads explode.
You can also smoke cigarettes.
Well, I mean, I could do that anytime I want, cardboard boxes or not. But I have high hopes for this.
Yeah.
But I feel that again, it's they just needed to polish that a little bit more. I was expecting to be wowed, and once I got over the tech demo, I was like underwhelmed. It's like you didn't need to show me that. You didn't need to show me all the other stuff because honestly, it wasn't gameplay.
My issue with it is that I feel like he still didn't get it. It's like it's still like this overdrawn, pretentious, I care more about this story and characters than probably anybody else in the world does. Like, to me, it's like he hasn't learned that less is more, that he needs to dial it back. Like, I just felt like that whole 10-minute tech demo just dragged.
But it's a step in the right direction because the early Metal Gear Solid 4 stuff, it was tease, then cinemas, and we didn't see gameplay for years. So at least they're actually showing gameplay.
I would argue we still haven't seen gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was
gameplay.
really gameplay.
Yeah.
I mean, they were playing the engine, but I mean, that wasn't really gameplay.
I would say it was.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a little.
I believe if somebody who
Tamped
had a
down,
controller in their
it's
hand and was
like-
moving Snake around, but is that what the game's going to play like? I don't think that's a good representation of it.
What did stand out to me was, again, my chat with the producer. He actually said that this was a PS3 360 PC game. I mean,
Well, think
it's
about that.
current
If they
gen.
can get that kind of fidelity out of the 360,
Yeah.
dude, people are going to come running to license that engine. I mean,
How many discs will it be on
Yeah.
on that 360?
I mean
it's
that
just
engine
like
is beast. No doubt about it.
Yeah, bring some of the Western sensibilities. Do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Keep it Metal Gear. Keep it Snake, but loosen up a little. I mean, and I'm glad you said the word pretentious because if I had said it, there'd be 55,000 comments right now saying I'm a racist shitbag. But I want this to succeed. I want this to pull me back in the franchise. And like I said, love the engine.
最後の無線連絡は40時間前。ターゲットは2人、チコとパスだ。
All right, that's it for episode 223 of Invisible Walls here on GameTrailers.com. Before we go, just want to remind you, go to the iTunes store, get the new app. While we were sitting here, Marcus downloaded it in like a second.
Well, no, I'm on AT&T, so it took about 45 minutes. No, it did download very quickly, and once everything got cached, I gotta say it looks snazzy. And obviously you've got retrospectives, you've got bonus round, you've got Annoyed Gamer.
Yeah. I mean,
So
we
that's
built it.
fantastic.
Well, the funny thing is, initially we built it just as an app for our original shows, and that was it. But as we started working on it, we're like, no, why would we pull all this other content away? You can basically get almost all the same content you can get on GameTrailers.com in the app.
And
Yep.
yeah, you got the original content,
But some trailers
and
too.
the unoriginal content.
In our reviews, I mean, it's we've pretty much thrown the kitchen sink at it. So if you guys have had problems using the new site, I mean, hopefully by now you're not having as many issues. But if you still are, use the app. It's a great experience.
I have a question.
Okay.
When's it coming out on Android?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
It's in the works.
I'm
but-
saving you guys from saying that on the forums. It's
They'll
already
say,
been already been asked. They know that they know it needs to come out on Android at some point.
Yep, it's
Don't
being worked on,
ask.
but we finished the iOS version first. So go out there and get it. Hope you guys like it. If not, be sure to leave comments. I'm sure you will anyway, whether I ask for them or not. But we'll see you guys all next week. Invisible Walls is up and out.